Good evening and welcome to another round of the House of Esports F123 League. This is round number 7 of 8, the penultimate round of the championship, and we will be racing around the Singaporean Marina Bay circuit. The guys are just about heading out onto track, and Alpine and Alfa Romeo have just left the garage. So we will head across to the stream very shortly. I've checked all the telemetry, so we shouldn't have to worry about that this evening, although there might be a couple of issues with some of the overlays once the race begins. We're hoping that that all works fine, but we did have a couple of issues in another stream that I ran a little while ago. As I mentioned in that stream, my entire telemetry server actually died, and so I had to reset it up on a different computer, and there's still a couple of hitches here and there, new versions of the software not working the way it's expected, so we'll see how this goes. But without further ado, let's get right to it. An Alpine and an Alfa Romeo out on track at the moment, heading through the turn number 7. I learned today that some of these corners actually have names, so I'm going to try and remember those, but no promises, because as I said, I only learned that today. Memorial Corner number 7, Padang number 9, and Stamford number 8. So that little section of the track over there, actually all three corners named. This little section of the track is the Singapore Sling 10, 11, and 12. Then it's 13 onto the straight down towards Connaught, which is turn 14. And I mean, we've seen a lot going on this track in general. Not entirely sure why the game has decided to put us on board, but there we go. Mystic, this is definitely not the right place for a quali ban, but yeah, ooh, and that is Marsh overshooting the corner a little bit, maybe breaking a tiny bit too late in there, and overshooting the corner. No wing damage that I can see. No, it doesn't look like there's any wing damage, so lucky to avoid wing damage there, but just going a little bit too fast into that corner. That was Connaught corner, and now down towards turn 17, 18, 19. Obviously, no bus stop in this version of the track. I'm not actually sure if the bus stop is going to be in the next version either. Kit, thank you. Hydrate. Yeah, so anyway, Marsh gets going through the shears. Oh, and Marsh not having a good time. The massive snap of oversteer there, manages to catch onto it, but that has already killed his lap. So he has already dropped his lap. Who is that Alfa Romeo behind? That is Demo, who is on. Is he actually pushing? He is indeed. His ERS is still burning, so he is now pushing. And will get the first legitimate time on the board. It is very much a hard track to overtake. It is possible. We have seen a lot of it, especially with the new configuration. The second DRS zone going onto that straight in the third place, it allows you to get quite close there, and it does allow you to try for a move going into turn number 16. So this actual configuration of track, we've seen incredible passes when we were here last season. So not all is lost. It's definitely a track, to be honest, with the track in its current configuration, it's one of those tracks that I would not mind starting at the back with. But yeah, Demo out at the moment, fastest second sector of anyone, and for once the game is right. Although, you know, the game is right, the broken clock is right twice a day. In this case, the game is actually right because no one else has a lap or a sector on board just yet. Apologies if I do sound a little bit out of breath or anything like that. I am nursing a little bit of an injury to my neck. Marsh, yeah, that's a 134. Demo getting a 132. So Demo not getting the lap that I'm sure he would want. I see a McLaren in the background there. KK Marcus like a 130. So you can see 2 seconds off the pace for Demo, 4.5 seconds off the pace for Marsh. Venom now going to the top of the times in the Haas with a 129.8. Destroyer currently on an outlap, so we'll follow him around with this lap. But yeah, as I was saying, if I sound out of breath or anything like that, it is because of an injury. Unfortunately, I can't really turn my head very well. It's actually a lot better than it was earlier in the day. In the day, I couldn't take it beyond there. Which is a little bit of a problem because I've got a bunch of tools right there. But yeah, feeling a bit better at the moment, but it does mean that my neck has been quite stiff. It has been quite painful. And, ooh, no, Warak getting a penalty for a collision with with Key Cracker, and that looks like it's on the pit straight. We're not going to go and try and see what happens there. There's no point really trying to go look at the aftermath. But Destroyer coming through turn 9, which is Padang corner, and now heading down towards the Singapore Sling, which is this corner here. You can see you do have to just throw the car in there and hope that it adheres to the ground, which it has in the case of the Ferrari of Destroyer. Oh, and I will re-enable the audio as soon as we get off board. I see the game audio is disconnected at the moment. There we go. Marsh gets a fastest time of anyone, 129.156, and that is now that he's managed to get up to speed and didn't have that moment, doing a lot better there. So Destroyer still on his lap, heading down this long straight where the bus stop used to be, where you used to go under the grandstands, if I remember correctly, and then back down towards the start finish straight, throws himself into the final double right-hander across the line, and he goes up into 7th place, almost 3 seconds off the pace. So still time to find for Destroyer. Marsh currently out in front, Venom in second, 6 tenths off Marsh's time. Azure not actually out on track at the moment. Humid is it's saying he's on an outlap. Let's have a look. Yeah, he's definitely not using his ERS, so definitely is on an outlap. So we'll see what he can do. Tire smoke is black today. Honestly, the rendering looks like it has been changed quite substantially. Just give me a second. I just need to adjust a volume level. Please hold for a sec. Okay, hopefully that controls the game volume a little bit better. That was weird. There's a couple of weird things happening. Yeah, as I said, the tire smoke for some reason is black. Not entirely sure what's happening there. There's something going on with the game. Like, they haven't released any updates that they've said, but I've noticed a couple of issues with the game, a couple of things that look a little bit weirder than they did before. Obviously, black tire smoke should not be happening. The tire smoke should be white. Not entirely sure what's happening there. Maybe it's a glitch in the lighting or something like that. I have also just recently updated my graphics drivers, so maybe the graphics driver itself has a bug in it, although that's unlikely that to have passed testing through NVIDIA. But yeah, let's see what happens. Humid on a lap, heading down the long straight down into Memorial Corner, and then he'll go through Stamford next. Stamford with an M, not an N, and then up towards Padang, which is a nice corner to try and get a good launch out of, and then head down towards the Singapore Sling. You can pass it into this section, but not side by side through the corner, so you have to get the pass done before then. And then through the bridge section of the track, a terrifying place to try and race, especially when you have someone who is a little bit faster than you on behind you. Yeah, I have seen people try moves down into the end of the bridge section to fairly good effect, but it is a very dangerous pass to try and go for. Obviously, this corner here, we've seen people go too wide through there. Not the greatest way to do it, but we have seen it. If you do manage to get a good exit out of there, obviously this is a quite long straight. You can get a nice slipstream down there, especially if you've got a good exit. It's a good passing corner going into 16. And now the double left-hander. Once again, we saw a massive crash here last time we raced here in real life from Lance Stroll coming through there and just losing it over the finish line and crashing and getting launched back into the track. And the cars getting launched back into the track is something that is being discussed quite a bit lately. There's been quite a few instances where cars just keep getting spat back into the track because of the way the barriers are set up. And it's a problem because, I mean, we saw at the Australian Grand Prix, George Russell, Alex Albon, George Russell, a couple of the F2 guys as well, getting launched back onto the track out of turn 6 when they hit the barrier there. And that should never happen. Those barriers should either catch the cars, and Azure, very early on through turn 2, I think that was, invalidating his lap time. So Azure not getting a lap just yet. And that is quite unusual for him. We don't normally see mistakes from him, but obviously he is pushing incredibly hard. KQ Marcostatic on an outlap, so we'll follow him around and see what he can do on this lap. But yeah, barriers, spinning the cars back into the path of oncoming traffic is never what we want. The entirety of Eau Rouge was reprofiled, the barriers redone and everything. to specifically avoid that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing conversations around that a little bit more as people realize how bad some of the barriers are, and hopefully it leads to the sport being even safer going forward. But yeah, anyway, KQ Microstatic coming to the end of his lap. We're right on board with this one. And I've just realized I don't have my control panel with me, so I will be right back while you ride on board with them. Alrighty, and I am back. Sorry about that. Just had to get my telemetry control panel, and it seems to be that the control panel itself is working, but the overlay isn't, which is unfortunate, because the overlay is on a completely different scene. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I might have to just pause the stream in a moment and then we'll go live again. So we'll wait until the end of qualifying and then we'll head to a bit of a break where I try and fix that issue there. I'm going to try something. Yeah, no, we'll wait for that to happen and then we will fix that overlay. So apologies for that. We won't have telemetry for this opening segment, but we should have it for the race itself. But yeah, anyway, Italian Legend with a lap sitting in 12th at the moment. Let's actually just hop off board with him. A couple people out there trying to get their laps together. Azure once again an invalidation, and that looks like towards the end of the lap, so that's unfortunate. Human has left the session, not entirely sure what's happening there. We have 3 minutes left to go, so he might just be restarting his game and coming back. Azure still has time to get out there and try and get a lap on the board. Jumping Jack currently on an outlap. He's early in the outlap. The cars really do look good at night, especially around the circuit. Singapore was one of the first night races. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first night race, and I think no one ever really looked back Absolutely incredible track, great looking cars, especially in the nighttime. And it's one of those things like the teams have to, when they're designing their car liveries and that sort of thing, they have to keep it in mind what it's going to look like in the day, what it's going to look like in the night. They have to keep everything in mind when they're designing these cars. So you'll see cars that are a little bit garish or just a little bit dark and that sort of thing. And you have to wonder, okay, did they design in for a highlight environment? Did they design it for a low light environment? Did they just design it because that's how they wanted it to look? And yeah, it's one of those interesting things with Formula One. I mean, everything is important. Everything makes a difference. If the car doesn't look that great, people aren't going to want their logos on it. So it has to look good. It has to look good under all conditions. And yeah, one of those things that a little bit lesser considered in Formula One, but still just as important is the whole branding of the sport itself. But yeah, Jumping Jack starting his lap going through turn 1, 2, and 3 quite slowly there, a little bit awkward through turn 3, and a snap coming out of it. So pushing the car just a little bit too hard there maybe, and now onto the straight, the first of the DRS straights. DRS flap open, there is a Red Bull in his way. Is he going to chase it down? He is indeed. That I do believe that is Azure getting out of the way there. Obviously, this the corner where Max Verstappen locked up a couple of years ago, and a video came out of the actual skid marks that he left there. And I mean, the lockup was half a second to a second, maybe. And I mean, it was 3 or 4 bus lengths long. They actually had a bus drive over it in the video, and it was just incredible. You look at it, and it's like, oh, it's a big lockup. Obviously, I think he locked all 4 tires, trying to overtake Lando Norris. But it didn't look like a very long lockup or anything like that. But yeah, no, when they actually showed it, someone actually took a video of it. It just shows you how big these cars actually are, and you think. The driver is only really in that front nose section. Everything beyond that, everything outside of that, is longer. I mean, the car is a lot longer than a driver is tall. It's quite low down, but it's not as low down as you'd think. You look at it and it thinks, oh, cool, it's quite squat. You could probably sort of like jump into it, no problem. And you see the drivers climb into it, and it's such a process. Jumping Jack going a little bit faster, but not improving his time. Still sitting in 11th. Sorry, improving his time, but not improving his position. Sitting in 11th. Azure is now starting a lap, and we'll see how he does. So gearing up, 2 seconds left. So this is going to be one of the final laps. I think Destroyer might be just behind him. Azure once again snappy around that corner. He does have the fastest time, a 128.034. So he does have the fastest time. He is 6/10 faster than Humid, but he has struggled to get a fully clean lap on the board. So we'll see whether he can do it this time. Heading down towards turn number, what is that? Turn number 7 is Memorial Corner, then 8 and 9. Right up to the wall there. You can see how far he pushes it. He absolutely pushes it to the very limits of the track, knows exactly where those barriers end, where the track ends, where those concrete walls are. And I mean, if the game was real, he'd probably be rubbing the red off those tires. And he's come across a Haas in a very awkward position, and this is gonna. You can see that they are incredibly fast. And you could see that little bit of a moment coming out of that corner. Is the Haas on a lap? That is Venom. I think he is on a lap as well. Let's have a look. He is indeed on a lap, so he doesn't need to yield the position. And you could see how quickly Azure came up on him. Unfortunate for Azure, obviously this is not going to be the fastest lap he can achieve with the Haas ahead of him, but Venom is definitely burning his ERS. He definitely is on a hot lap, so this isn't impeding. Oh, and Azure loses it through the final corner. That dirty air from the car ahead, just too much for the Red Bull to handle. The rear wing not producing the downforce it needed, and unfortunately loses it through the final corner. Destroyer is behind on track, and he has invalidated as well. So we're not going to see any laps at the absolute limit of the track. But yeah, that is the end of the qualifying session. So we are going to go to the logo for a second while I try and fix the overlays. We will be right back. Thank you about that. Sorry. Thanks, Luke. But yeah, first lap safety car, Mystic Muchwind pushing just a little bit too hard and into that braking zone and missing it entirely. Breaking his front wing, 43% damage, and then obviously just that didn't allow him the braking performance into the next corner and retirement already. So safety car is out first lap. Italian Legend, 3 positions up right off the bat. Keycracker, 2 positions gained. Warak, 2 positions gained. Santa, an absolutely terrible start there. And I wonder if he may have had a moment with Mystic Muchwind, because he was doing fairly well when we looked in on him earlier, while I was still muted. Apologies for that once again. But yeah, what I was trying to explain is I haven't used this scene, and the turn indicator is once again just not showing properly. So there's a couple of glitches in the new version of the overlay telemetry that I was using. And there's a couple of things that just don't seem to be working properly. Halo HUD is working again, so that's nice, but the turn indicator isn't working. I don't know if that's maybe a setting in SimHub or something like that I haven't got entirely right. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Obviously, it's a little bit frustrating as well. But yeah, one of those things. I'm just checking to see if I can see anything that that could be causing the... let me turn that off. Maybe that's it. That's worse. Okay, that's a little bit strange. It's now showing... Okay, not entirely sure what happened there. But let's turn that back there, and yeah, you can see it's just not working 100%. There's something wrong. Something is not quite working. I'm not 100% sure what it is. There's a couple of things that just don't seem to be in the right place. A couple of things that just don't seem to be 100% right with the telemetry, and I haven't been able to figure out what it is. I've tried a couple of things. I've tried to set up a number of things, but I'm going to have to... I'm recording this telemetry as we speak, so I should be able to use this one to try and fix whatever issues are cropping up. So hopefully by next time we will have everything working correctly. Oh, something just went weird. Alrighty, so since we are a lap in, let's see if this works. Okay, so that still works at least. Although the fastest lap indicator is definitely incorrect there. So this is what I mean. Like, it's the same telemetry system itself, but for some reason there's these weird little glitches all over the place, and I can't tell what could be causing it. And I can't find my old versions of it because that was on the server that died. That it was all downloaded, so it's weird things like that. So I might just revert back to the standard in-game telemetry. As much as this is nice, it's just not working properly. So yeah, we'll revert back to the standard in-game telemetry, and it's unfortunate, but one of those things. Alrighty. Okay, so as things stand, Azure out in front, Humid in second, no changes there as far as positions gained or lost. KQ Mark Static managed to hold on to third, Marsh in fourth, Worm Puzzle in fifth. Then we have Corsair, Venom, Demo, Italian Legend, and Jumping Jack, our top 10. Keycracker, Destroyer, Warak, and Santa, the top 14. And yeah, Mystic, yeah, no, we did see that. Really unfortunate there, especially with that front wing damage that you picked up on the first one. I think it just, yeah, this is not a fun track to try and run around without good front wing. I'm pretty sure Azure is able to win the championship at this race, Bennett. So yeah, he is looking good for it. I can't remember who it all is in the running for second and third. I haven't actually looked at the table recently, so yeah, I don't think. I think there are a couple of people fighting fairly closely for the other positions. Azure, let's have a look and see when he gets ready to go. Still just warming his tires, still braking to get heat temperature into those tires, and away he goes, catching Humid, napping a little bit, but it does look like he almost slowed down around that final corner just so that Humid could catch up a little bit, and so that the teammates can try and break the position. Let's go to the interval gap, which is actually useful, and you can see no one really left too far behind. KK Markstatic a little bit further than everyone else, with Marsh right on top of him, and that is going to be something he's going to have to keep in mind as he heads down here. He will try and get a slipstream from the two ahead. The two ahead obviously providing slipstreams to each other, 9/10 of a second already behind for KK Markstatic, so maybe caught a little bit by surprise by the Red Bulls out front, but has not let go of that gap just yet, and oh, that was a little bit slow through there. And let's actually have a look at the tires. So the Red Bulls out in front, both on medium tires, KK Markstatic and Marsh both on the hard tires. Worm Puzzle will have to pass fairly quickly to be able to take advantage of the tire differential that he has. Marsh going very wide through Memorial Corner there, and a little bit unfortunate for him because he is now under pressure by the Alfa Romeo behind in the form of Worm Puzzle. Worm Puzzle does have those medium tires. He will get better traction out of the corners, but Corsair is right on top of him. You saw there, almost pushing him through the corner, side by side through Connaught. Yeah, that is Connaught, side by side through there, and Corsair not quite managing to get through, but he is very, very keen to try, and you can see just shakes for a move going down towards this section here, and that was exactly what I said. If you manage to get close enough behind going down down the straight towards Connaught, that DRS straight, you can get very close and you can fight on that next straight as well. But Corsair not quite close enough, not quite finding the moment to pass, 0.2 of a second behind. This will be warming up his tires. He is on those hard tires, so he can push them a little bit harder. He can afford to take a little bit more out of them as he follows behind the Alfa Romeo. But he is going to have to try and get past fairly quickly. If those tires do get more up to a higher temperature than they are at the moment, they are going to start wearing, and he's going to start losing the advantage over Worm Puzzle. It will take a couple of laps. Ooh, and massive snap there. So obviously running quite low on that Haas, and got onto the curbing, and a little bit of a snap there as a result. Maybe just lifted off the ground with that curbing being as rounded as it is. If you run low enough, you do end up hitting that curb. Oh, and oh, that is that was quite confusing. I thought he was going into the wall there, but just a little bit of lag. So Corsair survives that glance at the wall. But I do believe that was entirely lag that was causing it to look that dramatic. But Worm Puzzle has managed to break away a little bit, 6/10 behind Marsh, 7/10 ahead of Corsair, so doing fairly well there. Destroyer in the background in the Ferrari didn't have a good qualifying session, 5/10 back from Warrack. He looks like he's going to be trying to push as hard as he can to catch up to the back of the Mercedes. DRS is now enabled. Looking forward to seeing the new DRS rules in the next game. What do you think of Oliver Behrman? I think he's good. I think he did incredibly well. I think we have to keep in mind Nick de Vries, who did incredibly well as a sub, and then, well, we all saw what happened there. I do think Ollie Behrman is a better option. I don't think he has any bad habits from other series. And I do think he will be a good addition to the grid, but I do feel like there are a lot of people in the junior formula who are actually going to be good additions to the grid. I've been watching this year's F2 with great interest because of, in fact, all of the feeder series this year. There's quite a few drivers in there that they've actually had a very good crop of drivers come into F2 and F3. And Ollie Behrman, I mean, the best example of how good a driver Ollie Behrman is the fact that he qualified on pole in F2 with bent steering. In Baku, no less. in the at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix last year, I think it was. He had I can't remember if he had a moment or if his steering was bent by something else. But yeah, he managed to qualify pole in F2 with bent steering, and that is just like how good a driver he is. His racecraft was incredible. He got the overtake of the month, I think it was. As Marsh, we can see Marsh getting to the back of KK Markostatic, and going a little bit wide through the final corner. So that's not going to be a move there. But he got the overtake of the month, the crypto overtake of the month, for one of his passes in the Saudi, where he went to the outside of turn one and then cut back to the inside before the corner, outbraked his opponent, and it was a great move to watch. So yeah, Ollie Behrman, really impressive, but the grid, the F2 and F3 grids this year are monster grids, and I do believe that the fact that we're going to see so many changes next year with so many contracts coming to an end in 2025, I think is a really good thing, because I think there is so much talent in F2 and F3. Obviously, and Destroyer going to the outside nice and quick, has managed to get through before the braking zone even, and great move there. Very violent pull to the side. Maybe a little bit more violent than it needed to be, but easy move there. Well done to Destroyer for getting through on that. Back to Marsh here, 0.5 of a second behind KK Markostatic. Let's see what he can do with the DRS. Doesn't look like he's quite close enough. 3.5. Will he try something onto this next straight? We did the last time we raced here. We saw a lot of moves down into turn 16. So let's see, does it happen again? Yes, absolutely. I think that's probably one of the best things that we've seen, is Hamilton going across to Ferrari. And I know there are rumors of another big signing coming very soon. At which point, once that happens, then apparently a whole bunch of other signings are in the works. And the rumor isn't from some pundit somewhere or journalist or anything like that. It's from Toto Wolff himself. He says that there is a big signing coming. Jumping Jack actually getting through on Italian Legend. Not entirely sure what happened there. Maybe Italian Legend making a little bit of a mistake. I didn't see that coming. So hopefully that's just a little bit of a mistake rather than me being very distracted. But yeah, good move there by Jumping Jack. Venom and Corsair still running together. Worm Puzzle has managed to break away from Corsair. So Corsair not having a great evening tonight. Yeah, rumors of Vettel coming back, yes, absolutely, and that could be what Toto Wolff is speaking of. He might be talking of Vettel coming back, but yeah, it's one of those things. He said that there's a big signing coming, and it's going to change a whole bunch of things. I don't really want old drivers coming back. I'll be perfectly honest. As much as Seb Vettel is an absolute icon, I don't think old drivers should come back. I think they should, but personally, I think there should be sort of maybe not a career limit as far as drivers are concerned, but almost exactly that. I think that the Formula One is supposed to be the best of the best. It's not supposed to be the guys with the most money or the most sponsorships or so on, but that's what it's become, and it's really unfortunate. People who consistently underperform shouldn't be on the grid any longer. But it's difficult to say, okay, cool, this person is underperforming, this person isn't, because you look at the Alpines this year. I personally believe that those drivers aren't as good as they may claim. There may be claims around how good they are. I don't believe they're as good as the claims state. But at the same time, you can't tell, because the car is just so terrible that no one knows. Alonso coming back was bad for the sport. I don't know if I agree with that one. We have a yellow flag. That is a VSC, in fact, and I think that may be Keycracker without a front wing, and that is exactly what's happened. He has completely lost his front wing, so virtual safety car while that gets cleaned up. Azure still out in front, Humid in second, KQ Microstatic in third, Marsh in fourth, Worm Puzzle in fifth, holding onto that position really well. He made a massive gap to Corsair behind. Then it's Venom, who was right on top of Corsair but has lost a little bit in the virtual safety car. Corsair actually making a massive amount of time under the virtual safety car, so I'm not entirely sure what's happening there. Then it is Demo, Jumping Jack, Italian Legend, Destroyer, Warak, Santa, and Keycracker getting that new front wing after his moment. So yeah, lots going on so far in the race. Not so much in the way of overtaking, but I think that's just people defending really well and deploying their ERS at the better at good times. Could be better. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, I feel like Lance Stroll shouldn't be on the grid anymore. Oh, we have a legitimate pit stop in the form of Keke Marcus. They're losing it a little bit going into the pit lane. The pit lane here is fairly terrible. Azure going into the pits oh, that is why we have rain coming. So, okay, so we have Azure, Humid, and Keke Marcus Static on the intermediates. Key Cracker going onto the intermediates after having to go into the pits anyway to get rid of that broken front wing. DRS is still enabled from what I could tell. Yes, DRS is absolutely still enabled. You can see the raindrops coming down. I can't tell how long the rain is going to stay. I can actually. It's at least the next 10 minutes. The track is still dry. So those guys on the intermediate tires aren't going to have the pure tire performance just yet. And you can see Azure getting eaten up by the grid, by the drivers behind. His tires will come in fairly quickly. Obviously, they're a little cold at them. Oh, and there is the first of the snaps that signifies that maybe that intermediate tire is exactly where they need to be. Oh, Warrack, another jumping jack, sorry, another snap there, and now Azure's decision to go in there is justified, and we see is that Corsair, that is indeed Corsair on the hard tires, a little bit of a spin, pointing the wrong direction, a little bit of a weird one going through the bridge section there, throwing up the marbles. You could actually see the marbles getting thrown up there, really impressive there from a graphical point of view, but this rain, oh, Corsair is really struggling, drifting through that corner. That is Connaught that he was drifting through, and you can see those hard tires are ice cold. The rear tires are actually boiling. The front tires are ice cold. So he is not having a fun time going through the final section of the track. But yeah, rain coming and changing the complexion of this race in a massive way. And DRS is now in disabled, which means the track is too wet for DRS to be safe. Marsh out in front. Let's see, does he hold on to the position? He does not. Azure comes through and takes first place, so he did make the right decision. Humid currently in 7th. Is he going to lose a position? I think he might, just because of the fact that he had to double stack behind Azure. So Azure out in front. Marsh has made this work, managed to make that extra lap on the slicks work. Humid in 3rd is fine. Italian Legend dropping down the field. Destroyer climbing rather. KK Mark Static in 4th. Worm Puzzle right behind him. You can see some spray coming off the track as well. Is this going to get heavier? It's going to be a question for the drivers if this is going to get heavier. Obviously, rain in Singapore, something that happens fairly often, and you can see it's coming down quite hard there. Still considered light rain, so I don't think it's going to get much harder than this for now. Corsair 6, official demo in 7th, obviously making the most of that extra lap on the slicks. Destroyer in 8th, Italian Legend 9th, Venom in 10th. Lost a couple of positions there, unfortunate for him. Jumping Jack, Santa, Warrack, and Key Cracker with that early lap, possibly gaining a little bit from it. Still quite far behind, but his inters will be up to temperature, so and they are actually the only ones up to temperature, so he should be able to push a little bit harder than everyone else and try and make up some time after that moment into the wall. So yeah, unfortunate for some of the guys that had very close battles, but we've got new close battles to look at. Marsh is right on the back of Humid, and he does look to be quite a bit more comfortable in that Alpine than the Red Bull driver. We'll see what he can do there. Venom currently in 10th. Oh, a bit of a snap there by Marsh, pushing a little bit hard, maybe trying to get back to the back of that Red Bull a little bit too hard. He just needs to be patient. It'll come to him. He just needs to be patient, keep the car under control, and that's how you make a pass around here, especially in the wet. You can't just fling the car into a corner and hope that it's going to work around here. Those walls are incredibly close, and they're weird shapes. And best example of that, we're going to go on board, so I'm going to lean very close to the microphone, is this wall on the right hand side here. So this is obviously the wall where we saw Lando Norris kiss it, and George Russell then decided to make out with it in and off he went into the gap, which the gap is not there. Do I think full wets will come out? To be honest, like graphically, it looks like they should, but according to the telemetry, no. Safety car is out though. Why we have a safety car? I think that might be Keycracker. No, Keycracker is still going. No, that is Keycracker. He has a broken front wing, so I think the safety car has decided to come out just because it's wet and we've got the broken front wing. So if wets are going to come out, they're going to come out now. The graphically, it does look like we should have wets. Obviously, it doesn't look like the track is actually I don't see puddles forming. So normally when the track is ready to go full wet, then puddles will start forming. The telemetry is saying that we're just sitting with light rain. Let me see if I can get a different telemetry window and see if that telemetry window tells me something different. Let's see, what other telemetry windows do I have here? None of the ones that will give me the information I want, unfortunately. So, no, I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. It honestly looks like it's raining hard enough that it should, but nothing else is saying that it will get wet enough. Although... Okay, so I can't give specifics. But in about 5 minutes, it looks like we might have enough water on the track that wets will be an option. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, it is unfortunate. Unfortunately, like the first time after I had to reset my my telemetry server, it didn't record the telemetry for some reason. This time it is definitely recording. I've made sure of that. I've triple checked it. It is definitely recording this time. Not all the telemetry I wanted it to record because some of the telemetry applications didn't actually download properly, and the race department is running, or overtake.gg as it is now, is running particularly slowly. So I'm not getting all the telemetry I wanted, but I am getting a good amount of it. I am recording the SimHub telemetry, but not all the rest of it that I've got running. Yes, well, to be fair, the technology warned me it was going to die a while ago, and I sort of like looked at it and went, well, when it dies, it's fine. Not realizing how much was on that part of that little piece of technology. It was a hard drive, and it was an old school hard drive, and it started getting slow and throwing errors, and then the one time it didn't. Yes, Keycracker is indeed on the wets. Yeah, so that is interesting to see. It does look like this rain is going to be here for a while, and as I said, like it does look like it is going to be wet enough very shortly for the puddles to start forming. So Keycracker on those wets, he might be able to unlap himself when everyone comes in to the pits to put on wet, if that happens. But you can see, like, certain parts of the track don't look that wet, and then some of the tracks do. So I don't know if that is just EA not knowing how to code weather into a game properly, or what that is. But yes, War Against Technology, as I said, it did warn me. Like a while ago, it just stopped actually powering up. I managed to get it to power up, and then sort of put it out of my mind, and didn't realize that the telemetry applications were actually installed on the drive that was dying, rather than on the main drive, which has Windows on it. And so when the drive died, it took the telemetry with it. And that's what caused the whole issue. So it's my own fault, and it's not really a war as much as telemetry going, I am dying, you need to make a plan, and me going, you'll be fine. And it wasn't. So yes, that's technology. Oh yes, back to the Formula 2 and 3 grid. I know I didn't actually finish this, I waffled on. But yeah, there's quite a few guys that have come up. The Formula 2 and 3 grid has very drastically changed. Obviously, there's Formula 1 Academy as well now. I'm really hoping that Dorin is given an opportunity to come up it straight into Formula 2 next year, rather than going up into Formula 3. I do think she has the pace. I do think she has the racing pedigree. She's won a couple of 24-hour events with her team. And I do feel like it would be interesting to see her in a Formula 2 car and see how she stacks up against the rest of the grid. Okay, so the rain looks like it's getting a little bit harder. I don't see puddles on the track just yet. but we are very quickly approaching it. Safety car, yes, telemetry. I know that. You've already told me that. Telemetry popping up with the safety car warning as if it's new. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to Dorian Pa maybe having an opportunity to come into Formula 2 next year rather than going through Formula 3. I know that is one of the ideas of the Formula 1 Academy, is that the winner will get a full sponsored drive in whatever category that they are good enough for. And looking at the way that she's racing, she is incredibly quick, incredibly consistent. Obviously, there was that issue in Jeddah um, where she didn't see the checkered flag. In her defense, no one could have. There were quite a few pictures circulated afterwards where it showed the view from the teapot. You couldn't even see the flag from the teapot. So yeah, unfortunate there. Azure has gone already, so going early this time. And you can see how much he's caught everyone by surprise, and you can see the spray coming off those tires. I think wet tires are not going to be too far away. Maybe 2 or 3 laps, just looking at the telemetry as well. It seems to be agreeing with me. This is one of the difficulties with the Singapore track. Oh, Venom getting a penalty for track limits through turns 1, 2, and 3. We have a yellow flag, and oh, is that Key Cracker again? It is, unfortunately, Key Cracker again. Tires still quite cold, but that is obviously the wet tires. Maybe not warming his tires up as much as he needed to, and that's really unfortunate for him. I can see we've got a little bit of these guys quite close together. Demo and Destroyer also very close together. No move there just yet. People just getting used to these intermediate tires. Oh, a massive slide there by Demo, and that is definitely going to allow Destroyer to have a look. Demo defending very well. They're closing the door. Oh, but he is struggling on those intermediate tires, and I can definitely see on this telemetry it says currently the track wetness level is 77%. We definitely have wet tires coming. I've just seen what the weather is doing in a couple of minutes. Warwick, unfortunately, with a spin there. We are going to see the wets. There is no question about it. We have 10 minutes to go until a full-on storm, according to the telemetry, and you can see it already. The rain is coming down even harder. Oh, 4 people going through this corner at the same time. Marsh getting through on KQ Microstatic. Corsair, I think, has gotten through on Worm Puzzler as well. 4 together, and that is Corsair trying to go through there on KQ Microstatic. Oh, and that is a little bit of contact, and KQ gets pushed towards the wall. Luckily, no damage there, but that might be reported after the race, although it looked fairly clean. The two of them going through there side by side, tiny little bit of contact. Destroyer has gotten through there. Official Demo going for the wet tires. He is obviously not happy on those intermediate tires, hoping to get a jump on this. Venom as well, it has also gone into the pits to get rid of those intermediate tires. And yeah, like the sliding was incredibly painful to watch. Somehow the guys out in front just about managing to keep it pointed in the right direction. And it would have been so great to be able to look at the telemetry for this race, but unfortunately, as I said, that particular telemetry application not downloading quite in time. But yeah, one of those things. So yeah, Azure out in front, Humid in second, Marsh in third, Corsair in fourth, Worm Puzzle in fifth, KQ Microstatic all the way down into sixth after that little bit of contact with Corsair side by side through that corner. Destroyer in seventh, Italian Legend eighth, Jumping Jack ninth, and then Santa our top 10. Then we've got Demo, Venom, Warwick, and Keycracker all on the wet tires, going for the gamble, seeing what they can do with those wet tires, seeing if they can get them up and running before everyone else manages to come in for the wets. You can see that rain is pelting down now. Track wetness sitting at 77%. And still, so no puddles. So I'd be curious to see at what point the puddles actually pop up. I think it might be about 80% when the puddles start popping up on the track. But we'll see very shortly, I'm sure. Azure out in front, it looks like he is incredibly stable on those intermediate tires. Humid also looking quite stable as we see him go through here. Not quite going in just yet, and I wonder if they're going to double stack once again. Marsh coming in, he has decided those intermediate tires are just not giving him the performance he wants. And oh, that was incredibly lucky, and you can see some puddles there. Oh, that was That was great to like. It was great to watch. I never wish that on anyone, but oh, and Humid bouncing off the wall there. Surprised he didn't lose a tire. But yeah, you can see that this track is incredibly wet now. It is starting to catch people out, and people need to be very careful going through these corners, trying to keep everything together. It is going to be fascinating to see. Yeah, absolutely. I do think that was the first of many there. And let's see what happens. So Marsh within a pit stop window of jumping Jack, but possibly not as much of an advantage as he would have had otherwise if he hadn't slid into the wall there. But let's see what happens with the other guys. I mean, they're going to have to come into the pits as well. We've obviously seen that the pit entry is very wet, and let's see whether that affects more people than just him. KK Microstatic in 5th place. Looks like he's doing fairly well. We've got, oh no, that is that Marsh? It is. Marsh has had a moment. He manages to get going again. Oh, and this is going to give the guys out in front a massive advantage. They're going to be able to come in for a cheap pit stop now. Really unfortunate there for race strategy. Marsh having a moment and unfortunately losing his wing in the process. So yeah, the track in an awkward state then. Azura now going into the pits, not surprising. We'll probably see everyone going into the pits. All the way back to Jumping Jack, and obviously Marsh as well, currently running with no front wing. So yeah, oh, that was an interesting one. It almost looked like Humid caught the inside wall there. Worm Puzzle gets in without speeding. Everyone else looks like they're getting in without speeding as well. Azure is something else. You know, he definitely knows what he's doing in a sim racer, and I think yeah, you can definitely see his experience with various sim racing games. Santa gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, so that's really unfortunate for him. But Azure and Humid still on the inters. Worm Puzzle going for the wets. Corsair, KQ, and Italian Legend still on the inters. This storm is going to be around for a while. The track is going to get even more wet. I am curious to see whether this works out, or whether this is just Mark being Mark once again. Marsh has gone onto the inters as well, though. So, okay. So I thought strategy was going to go out the window, but it looks like we still have some strategy to go. A couple of people going onto the inters, not like a substantial number of people going onto the inters. I don't entirely know what the reason for that would be. Because we have a pretty massive storm, and it'll hang around for a while. So the only thing I can think of, we're on lap 18 of 31. We've got 14 laps left to go. Maybe it dries up before the end? Obviously, the drivers will have pretty good forecasts ahead of them. They'll be able to see what the forecast was. They'll be able to see what the sort of projected times of the various weather effects would be, which obviously we can't see all the way. But yeah, I do feel like it is a gamble. You're right. I think this might come back to bite someone. I think Azure will be fine. I know he's very good at figuring out the limits of the vehicle, that he's in. So yeah, I think this is going to get very interesting for a whole bunch of people. Okay, so everyone out there is running healthy cars. There are no front wing damages anywhere. It looks like Azure is very close to the back of that safety car, possibly struggling to stay behind it. Venom, with a little bit of a slide, has gone off at turn 2 and has now tumbled down the order. Keycracker going into the pits, not entirely sure why, and there's someone else in the pits there as well. That is Demo, who is, Marsh managed to get through as I hit 10. So Demo going into the pits onto the intermediate tires, not the worst idea. Oh, that is, luckily he didn't get a penalty from that. But Keycracker going very slowly through the pits, and that little bit of evasive action having to be taken there by Demo. So maybe looking at the guys who have gone onto the inters and deciding they must know what they're doing. But it's a gamble, especially with that sort of thing. This track does have quite a few places where there is cover over the braking zones and that sort of thing. So maybe it's a situation where the inters should work on this track specifically, even with this weather, because there are those spaces. Oh, and Keycracker, unfortunately, going straight into the runoff, which is exactly what it's there for. Like, if you feel like you're not going to make the corner, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. So exemplary stuff there by Keycracker to avoid any sort of issue there. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. And it looks like Demo's not doing too badly on those inters. So maybe that... Oh, that is a tap of the rear left tire. And it doesn't look entirely comfortable on the inters. I was going to say he is looking quite comfortable there. But once you get onto the part of the track that's more wet, you can see him sliding around all over the place. I wonder if... So something that the tires do that it really doesn't get spoken about too much in sim racing, and I don't know if it is actually modeled, but I know this happens in real life, is the tread blocks are actually a different height between the intermediate tires and the wet tires. So you can, if you set your car to a certain ride height, if you're on the intermediate tires, you will be right against the ground. If you're on the wet tires, you'll be lifted about 1 millimeter or 2 further off the ground, which obviously is a massive, it is quite a big performance difference, but also it means that there's quite a big difference between when you aquaplane and when you don't. So I wonder if the guys are finding that those guys that went onto wets initially and then onto the intermediates, what is going on with this weather? The weather is a little bit weird. It now looks like pretty much everyone's gone back onto the intermediates, which only Wormpuzzle and Jumping Jack staying out there on the wet tires. Is this particular track broken? Does it just not actually respond to the wets? I don't know. This is a weird one. The storm is just getting worse. So I'm going to say this now because, I mean, it looks like everyone's ignoring it anyway. But the storm, the current track wetness is set at 87%. Which it should be very wet. And it's only getting wetter. It's supposed to be 92% in the next 5 minutes, and it stays at 92% for the next 10 minutes, according to the telemetry. So I would think that is definitely wet weather tires. But I think, I don't know. The only person with tires that look like they're anywhere within the sort of window that I expect is Humid. He's running his tires sort of in the performance window. Most everyone else has tires that are too wet as far as the intermediates are concerned. So yeah, this is too cold as far as intermediates are concerned. So this is a little bit of a weird one. I'm not entirely sure what's happening. I'm sure we will see who has made the right decision. It does look like everyone has decided that the right decision is going to be that intermediate tire. I don't know whether that is going to be the case, but we'll see very shortly as Azure goes. No, he hasn't gone yet. There we go. Now he has gone. Wormpuzzle with a little bit of a moment. Oh no, that is Azure with a spin going through the final corner. Humid now taking the lead of the race. Wormpuzzle in second. Corsair in third. Was that the intermediate tire just not performing as much as he needed it to? Azure dropping all the way down into 11th, and he now has a massive recovery drive to do. 11 laps to go. Azure down in 11th. and championship leader now not scoring points in this race as it stands. So this is going to be very interesting to see. Wormpuzzle has managed to get through. Oh, you can see the massive snaps there as Wormpuzzle gets onto the dry part of the track. Those tires just not liking the dry. And KQ Marcus Static and Corsair have gotten through. KQ into third, Corsair up into second. Those intermediate tires. Oh, that is a massive snap there once again. I do believe that was Wormpuzzle again. Destroyer dropping down. Azure managing to get a position, and looks like he's going to look at the inside of Venom. Does he manage to make this move stick? He does not. Drops back once again. So a couple of people going for moves. Azure are into 10th, so getting a point at the moment. But this is going to be a very interesting drive by a couple of these people. Azure, you can see he is struggling to break on the terms of the guys ahead of him. Obviously does know what his car, what he wants his car to be able to do. And let's see, does he go for the inside of the bridge? He does indeed, side by side. Oh, and that is contact there for Venom with the wall, not pushed into it. There was definitely space there, and that's really unfortunate for Venom. Did he pick up wing damage? He did not. Luckily for him, but Azure making up a position once again. Marsh on the inside of Italian Legend. Does he make the move? He does indeed, through before the... No, there is a little bit of a move there. Still in the braking zone. Azure now up on Jumping Jack, manages to get through nice and easy. That is Keycracker ghosted out as he is a lap down. So a lot's happening as we start the final section of this race, and the storm will be starting to dissipate in about 10 minutes time, which is still within the bounds of this race. Last lap we saw a 1:43, so we will see the storm starting to dissipate before the end of the race, and that is good to see. But some very good moves going on up and down the field. Azure currently in 8th position. Wormpuzzle and Italian Legend swapping positions. Wormpuzzle on those wet tires, just not managing to make them work in these conditions. This has been very interesting to see. I would have expected the wets. Oh, that is one heck of a dive, and a little bit of contact there, and unfortunately that is who was that into the wall, in fact. I didn't catch who that didn't exactly catch who that was, even though I watched it happen. But I think that might have been Demo being put into the wall there. A little bit of an ambitious move there by Azure. Very late braking. Did manage to get it stopped, and did manage to leave just about enough room, but I think that might be referred to the stewards. He does get through on Venom. Didn't look like Venom really fought in there. And Azure up into 7th position now, with Venom behind him. Venom with a 3-second penalty for those track limits earlier on. Oh, Azure going very deep there. So he's not quite finding the perfect braking zone so that we're used to seeing him fine. I think he is pushing just a little bit too hard, and that is leading to him diving a little bit harder than he would otherwise be expecting to. Wormpuzzle taking a bit of an odd line through there. I think those wet tires are not cooperating with him, trying to get into the pits, and unfortunately finding a Red Bull there, and now manages to get into the pits. Azure now has open air in front of him, currently running in 6th. Venom is managing to keep up, so that is good to see for him. Destroyer is just off the back of official Demo as they head down through the first couple of corners. KQ Marcus Static has not let go of Corsair, so he also has a chance to try and get through, as he has a little bit of a wiggle through the corner, but has not lost sight of the Haas ahead just yet. One thing that is going to be interesting is to see if Azure does manage to, has already caught up to the back of Italian Legend. Do we see another dive as we saw before? No, not this time. It holds onto the position, but we've seen dives into this next corner. He's already lining up for it on the inside. Nice and easy move there. Leaves a lot of space on the outside this time, and unfortunately pays the price for it side by side through that corner, and Azure now gets the position. So he is, he's obviously quite annoyed with himself, and he's pushing as hard as he possibly can to get back up to the front of the field. So the Red Bull making its way through the crowd. KQ Marcus has dropped back a little bit from Corsair. Not entirely sure what happened. There is a yellow flag in Sector 2. Who is dropping down the field? No one's really dropping down the field. I think that may have been Venom with a little bit of a moment. It looks like he's dropped back a little bit from the car ahead in the form of Italian Legend, so possibly a little bit of a moment there for Venom. It looks like Destroyer is right on top of him as well, so we'll keep an eye on this battle while we go go through the grid. So KQ Microstatic currently in third, still within touching distance of Corsair. He needs to make a little bit of movements upwards. Looks like Corsair did have a little bit of a moment there, went off track, but doesn't look like he picked up a warning for it. Zero currently in fifth, quite a bit of time to make up to Marsh, 4 seconds in total. Venom losing a position through the final corner. We have an Alpine, I think that is Santa, who has gone into the runoff and now is trying to get that car turned around. It does look like he has both of his front wing ends still intact, so it gets back underway. Venom still on the back of Destroyer, has lost a couple of positions and stayed within range of the guys ahead, but it doesn't seem to be able to make a move just yet. We've got Demo coming up behind him as well. We've got a Mercedes. Is that Warrack? That is Warrack indeed. Hasn't lost too many positions. Have got Wormpuzzle behind him. Wormpuzzle has gotten rid of those wet tires. Again, very strange that the wet tires aren't working at the moment, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. I don't know if that is just the game not knowing what it's doing, or if it's just this track, a weirdness of this track. Obviously, this track does tend to be quite hot, quite humid, and I wonder if that's just made the difference, that the intermediate tires, although the wet is landing, the track is still maybe hot enough that it's allowing them to run those intermediate tires. Not entirely sure, and we can only speculate, but yeah, one of those things. Demo currently in 9th, and Wormpuzzle got through on Warrack. That was a little bit out of nowhere. I was actually checking the gaps just now, and unfortunately that is Keycracker losing his wing once again. We've got a yellow flag, but no safety car or virtual safety car this time, so Keycracker not having a good time in this wet. And you can see the rain is pelting down once again, but it is actually starting to lighten up. Oh, Demo almost going into the back of Venom, having to take evasive action there, so he is looking comfortable on those tires again. Venom going into the pits, so this is going to be interesting. Not entirely sure what he is planning. Obviously, as I said, we do have the rain starting to dissipate now. From this point forward, all the telemetry is Destroyer has left the session. That is unfortunate. I think that might be a disconnect. We'll see if he requests a re-invite. But yeah, no safety car this time. 7 laps left to go. Humid out in front, Corsair in second, KQ Microstatic in third, Marsh in fourth, Azure catching up fairly quickly in fifth. Then we have Italian legend Destroyer, who has left. Not entirely sure what happened there. Official Demo, Wormpuzzle, and Warrack our top 10. Then we've got Venom, Santa, Jumping Jack, and Keycracker. So Venom has gone into the pits as well. Destroyer has rejoined. That's good to see. And gone onto a fresh set of intermediate tires. So maybe felt like those previous intermediates weren't quite handling the way he wanted them to. But yeah, not entirely sure what happened there. Demo on the back of Destroyer. Does he manage to get back into his car before Demo manages to effect a pass? We'll see very shortly. Demo very close behind. We'll ride on board to see what he can do through here. And Destroyer has definitely got him back into his car. Does he manage to make a pass? Is Destroyer going to be a little bit off balance? No, it looks like he's got... No, oh no, Demo has braked a little bit too hard, possibly dropped a gear too many times. Has he gotten stranded? No, yeah, okay, he's able to move again. Some of these curbs, you can see how high that curb is. You can get stuck on some of the curbs, oh, that was very close there. Maybe a bit of an unsafe rejoin there, but we'll see what happens there. Azure is now right on the back of Marsh, or was right on the back of Marsh. Not entirely sure what happened there because we were riding on board. But yeah, Azure is now through on Marsh, and Marsh does not look comfortable through that corner and manages to keep it out of the wall, but will have lost quite a bit of time, and you can see 1.3 seconds. Azure up into 4th place, and we'll see what he can do. KQ Microstatic in the meantime has managed to make it through on Corsair. I didn't see the gap come down, so I wonder if that was a bit of a mistake by Corsair at some point, and KQ Microstatic taking advantage of it. Top 5. KQ Microstatic is the only one that's not part of Omnius Gaming. So yeah, well done to their drivers. I think Humid and Marsh are also Omnius Gaming. Corsair and Azure obviously carrying that OG tag, which is Omnius Gaming. So yeah, looking very strong as a team. or as an esports team, obviously 2 different teams on the grid, 3 different teams on the grid, so they won't be collaborating because there are rules against that and they can be banned for doing that, as we saw last season. But yeah, I haven't seen anything that looked like any sort of collusion or anything like that. So yeah, KK Microstatic doing very well to break that cluster up in front. Humid 11.2 seconds out ahead, so having a good race there in the first, what is currently the first of the Red Bulls. KK Microstatic in the McLaren in second, Corsair in third, losing some ground to Azure angrily throwing himself into that corner behind. That Red Bull does not look happy, and not in the unstable way, more in the I'm going to kill everything in front of me that doesn't move out of the way. So that is good to see that he is pushing as hard as he is. 5 laps left to go for him to try and make his way back up to the front. I don't know if he's going to manage, but we'll have to see what happens. I've realized why it looks like there's no rain down that part of the track. It's because EA doesn't know how weather works. If the camera is underneath the cover, so there's no rain between it. Oh no, that is KK Microstatic in the runoff. And luckily I can't call this one a commentator's curse. I was talking about how well he was doing, but not right as he lost it. So, oh no, that is unfortunate. And that car just not happy now. Rear tires completely cooked. KK Microstatic has retired from the session. Not entirely surprised. Really unfortunate for him. Was running so well. And safety car with only a couple laps left to go. And we have Keycracker retiring in the same spot. That's a little bit of a weird one. Both McLarens retiring basically in sympathy on top of each other. So really unfortunate there for KQ Microstatic. Retirement after crashing, going into the runoff, trying to get back underway, and unfortunately losing it there. Humid coming into the pits. Let's see what this is about. So fresh intermediate tires for Humid. Corsair doing the same, Azure as well. Will Marsh do the same? 9 laps on his intermediate tires. Looks like he's doing exactly the same. I don't think anyone's going to risk not doing it. Venom can afford to not do it. Worm Puzzle and Jumping Jack might be able to not to do it as well. Pole time, I cannot remember offhand, unfortunately. I know we had a 120. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly. Just hold for a sec. No, it's not giving me... It's not giving me the poll time, unfortunately, on my telemetry. I'm sure it was faster than a 128. But anyway, beside the point, I can't check right now. It's not giving me the poll time just yet. Let's see if I could do this. Oh, you are correct. 128.034. Sorry about that. I'm sorry I doubted you. Yeah, we had no one manage to complete a lap near the end of the session. There was probably a good half a second in the pace that we could see, but unfortunately invalidations in the final couple of attempts. Demo going onto the soft tires, obviously struggling to get out of the pits with the wet as it is. It's a bit of a Hail Mary move. 4 laps left to go, or 3.5 laps left to go, but yeah, Demo deciding he is going to try for the soft tires. Can't really lose anything. Santa is currently in 11th, who has also gone onto the soft tires. Jumping Jack is with the grid, so will lose too much time. I think he might already be lapped as well, so yeah. PB 27.2. Yeah, that's a pretty good pretty good run. As I said, yeah, there were no real fast laps completed near the end of the session. I think everyone had issues with track limits, just pushing a little bit too hard. And yeah, a couple of very good laps lost towards the end there. So yeah, I think we were going to see quicker and then didn't because of the invalidations. The weather is drying up. It's possible. The weather's been quite weird. So we've had very hard rain, and people running on intermediates without any problems. So I think those guys down on the soft tires, they don't really have anything to lose. Currently running in 10th and 11th. And just trying something different to see if they can maybe score a couple of positions. Obviously, they have to get up to the back of the safety car before it peels in, which will be this lap, I'm pretty sure, to be able to have a chance of taking advantage of those soft tires. But yeah, they've got nothing really to lose. We have seen some weird tire physics on this track tonight, so maybe just hoping that it extends to the slicks as well. Let's actually see how Demo goes around these corners. It looks like he's running quite slowly. But yeah, let's see. Should be able to see safety car in this lap. That is to be expected. Yeah, so he's running slower than safety car queue. So I don't know if this is necessarily the best option for him. But it was worth a shot. The rain is drying up. The track is drying up quite quickly as well. There might be a lap or two at the end where his tires will come into play, but at the moment they're way too cold. I don't think he's going to get too much temperature into them. Yeah, and was definitely running a lot slower than the safety car queue, so doesn't look like he's made the right call there. But let's see how this goes. Humid has gone nice and early. Intermediate tires up into the final corner, and yeah, Humid holding onto the position. Corsair getting a good launch there. Azure getting through on Destroyer already. He is going to want to regain that first position that he lost earlier. Marsh in 5th. Currently running 5/10s behind Destroyer. Italian Legend has not pit. 12 lap old intermediate tires. He is going to struggle on those tires compared to the guys around him who are all on fresher tires. Azure currently in 3rd. Oh, we want to look forward game. Corsair is holding on to the position for now, though. It doesn't look like Azure got too close. Marsh is through on Destroyer. It goes a little bit too deep, and he's going to have to give that position back, I'm sure. Destroyer gets the position for a moment, and then Marsh gets through again. Azure through on Corsair. Corsair obviously getting a bad run through that middle bit of the corner there, and luckily there for Azure getting through. And quite a lot going on all over the place. Italian Legend right on the back of Destroyer. He has Worm Puzzle right behind him as well. Good evening, Secrets Gaming. Welcome. Italian Legend right on the back of Destroyer, but he's got Worm Puzzle for company in the Alfa Romeo. Will Worm Puzzle be able to make a move on him? Doesn't look like it just yet, and he is right up there, up to the back of that Alfa Tauri, though. We'll keep an eye on the gaps and see whether we can spot anything else coming, but as we've seen so far, it looks like most of the passes happen when a mistake happens. Italian Legend has lost a little bit of pace on a Destroyer pulling away to outside of a second. Obviously, the gaps not making too much of a difference as far as the second gap is concerned. No DRS in the wet, so we have to keep an eye on all the gaps, see when they start coming down. Worm Puzzle 3/10, 4/10 of a second back, and takes a much better line through there. Italian Legend going a little bit defensive through those final couple of corners, and Worm Puzzle will get a better exit off the corner, but doesn't manage to make much with it. We have, that is Demo on his softs having a little bit of an issue. Doesn't look like he's picked up any any damage, but he is definitely struggling on those soft tires. Final lap of the race, Worm Puzzle right on the back of Italian legend Azure, 1.1 seconds back from Humid. I don't know if he's going to be able to go for a move there. We'll keep an eye on that gap as well, but Worm Puzzle looks like he's going to make a move, goes to the inside of the next corner. Venom looks like he's going to try and follow his way through. He does indeed. The gap existed, and he has put his nose into it, put his entire car through it, and very cheeky move there. And Italian legend moving down into 8th position, losing two places in a single corner to a very cheeky move. Venom following his way through, and that was that was very clever. Worm Puzzle creating the gap, making sure he was there. Venom making sure that there is no possibility of a block, and we can see Azure is now was for a moment within a second of Humid. Will Humid be able to hold it together for these last couple of corners? There is only one real chance left for Azure to pass in the slipstream, just outside, just inside of a second now. Final couple of corners, I think that is the game called, and Humid has managed to hold on to the position. Unfortunate for Azure with that spin after the second safety car, I think it was, and the Humid taking advantage of it. Azure in second, Corsair coming through in third, Marsh in fourth. Then we have Destroyer, Worm Puzzle, and Venom still fighting it out, still close enough to each other, but no moves in the last couple of corners. Venom through in 7th. Italian legend getting that position due to a penalty for Venom. Warwick coming through in 9th, then Official Demo in 10th, also with a 3-second penalty for track limits. But Jumping Jack and Santa a little bit too far back, and yeah, that was a really good move by Venom. That was fun to watch. But yeah, the Official Demo still coming through those soft tires, just not firing up as much as I'm sure he would have hoped. This final lap looking a little bit more like we've hit the crossover point. So the crossover point coming in the final lap, if it had come a little bit earlier, I think this would have been a great call, but 5-second penalty for unserved, so he must have had an issue in the pit lane as well. Jumping Jack coming through the final corner, let's see, no, just not quite close enough to Demo to take that position. And then Santa 18 seconds behind, not having a good race, had a couple of incidents earlier on, and really unfortunate that he's coming on the back of the grid. KQ Microstatic, Key Cracker and Mystic Muchwind, Mystic retiring on the first lap and bringing out the first safety car. Key Cracker and KQ Microstatic retiring on the same lap at the same time at the same corner. KQ Microstatic after running in second and looking incredibly strong in that position, and unfortunately losing it there. Destroyer getting driver of the day, so obviously made up a whole number of positions, and yeah, a great race all round to watch. And thank you to everyone who joined us. Humid out in front is in second, Corsair in third, Marsh in fourth, and Destroyer our top 5. There's Worm Puzzle, Italian Legend, Venom, Warrack, Official Demo to the top 10, Jumping Jack, Santa, the last of the finishers, and then KQ Microstatic, TTV, Keycracker, and Muchwind, unfortunately retiring from the race. As you can see, a lot of people went to those wet tires. Obviously didn't come into play. Those wets just didn't seem to get to the right state, despite the fact that there was a full-on storm. I don't entirely understand what happened there, but yeah, those people deciding not to go onto the wets definitely made the right call. And you can see the pit stop times there as well. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone who joined us. It's been an incredible pleasure to have you as usual. And hopefully we'll see you next time for the finale of the season. Thank you so much to the drivers as well. It was a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, with that, with the weather changes, it made it very interesting. Thank you so much, and we'll check you next time.